Here's what I did to fix an Xbox One Model X that failed to reboot or factory reset with a system error code E102. This is an error code that you typically receive when the hard drive fails or the system files are corrupt. The first step is to try an offline system update. In my case, that did not work, and the unit wasn't under warranty. I'm an experienced electronics tech, so I decided to dig in and see what the issue is. I suspected it was a failed hard drive, and my suspicions were correct. If you're experiencing this problem and decide to try this, do at your own risk. There are delicate flat ribbon connectors that are easily broken. Enough said, let's get started. So now it's time to open the Xbox, and the label needs to get peeled off. Underneath of that is a T10 Torx screw, and the next one gets removed on the other side. So both of those screws need to be removed. The case will then slide forward away from those screws and then can be flipped up on the side that has notches on it. So that's the side that gets flipped up after it gets pulled away from those screws. You need to bring it all the way up so you don't break the latches. And now there just has to be tons of screws taken out. The thing's really shelled up and packed pretty tight. So I'm moving fast forward just to take the boredom out of all these screws getting taken out. You can leave the ones that are where the X is. That's the basically a fan slash heat sink. Those screws can stay where that X is. And I'm making a mark now on the long screws with a magic marker. So I'm just making a knot, just a black mark notch on it, and then I know which ones are the long screws and the short screws. Just makes it a lot easier when you're putting it all back together. Now we're going to work our way towards the delicate ribbon cables. That has two screws that hold it down, and it needs to be popped straight up. Once we're finished that, we're going to work our way to the next delicate ribbon cable. That's in what I call the front, and we'll see that next. And it's extremely delicate and easily broken. So again, be careful with all these cables. And I'm just pointing out how you gotta pry it straight up, and that one releases the little latch. Once the latch is released, and again, that latch is really delicate and easily broken, so you can't just get a dull screwdriver. You gotta use the right tool to open it. Now it's time to pop that shell off, or really the bottom plastic, now that the cables are released. Next, we'll work our way getting the shell off. And again, more screws. Seems like a never-ending thing of screws with this Xbox. Not sure why they pack it so tight, but you'd think it's like a black box on a plane or something. The way there's so many screws and how many shells it has. And I'm just marking those two screw holes because there was only two screws there. So that makes it really easy. And again, this bottom shell piece that comes off is on really tight. So it just has to be wiggled off carefully. Again, everything's delicate, so I just have to be careful when I do all this. It's getting there. Finally. Underneath the CD-ROM drive is the hard drive. That's a 1 terabyte Seagate drive that was in this particular unit. So I happen to have a 1 terabyte Seagate drive from an old Dell that someone brought over. That's a good drive. Just the computer wasn't good. So I'm gonna test this drive just to make sure it's actually bad by plugging it in like a USB adapter on my computer. So So we got to remove it off the carrier first. Again, more screws. And again, I determined this hard drive is bad. So now it comes time to put in the replacement drive and put it all back together. But don't worry, I'm not going to bore you with all the footage of putting it back together. I'm just going to move fast forward real quick. And yeah, I wish I worked this fast normally. This is 10 times the speed. And once we're done putting it all back together, what we're going to do is we're going to prepare a USB drive. The USB drive has to be formatted with NTFS. And that USB drive is going to have an offline system update on it. And what that does is provision the hard drive. So we definitely want to do that part. And again, I'm getting in the cable there again. Everything's really delicate. So you just got to handle it with care and just put everything back exactly the way it came apart. But back to the USB drive. I'm going to show some quick directions. You want to follow those directions precisely. And that's from the Microsoft site. And again, all these screws got to go back in. I don't like skipping putting screws back in. So I put them all back in and doing it right. And here's the point where you go and you can search for Xbox Offline System Update. Follow those instructions precisely. And one of it is formatting it and putting it on a USB. So in this case, we're going to insert the USB. We're going to do the offline system update. The USB will provision the hard drive. And there it is, updating. And boom, it's ready to go. Please like and subscribe if you like this video and more useful tech content.